as your mom who does it for free. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. This is my little Boogie Night series. It started off as a podcast, but now it's more of just a weekly show in which we talk about video games, gaming. Gives me an excuse to hang out with somebody known well in the industry. Now, if you missed this live tonight on Twitch, it's going to be on YouTube tomorrow. So I hope that you'll check it out. You may be watching it on YouTube right now, and that's awesome. But the industry professional we're visiting with tonight is the one, the only Brad McQuaid. Brad, you got your mic on?
I do.
All right. Well, now for those of you who are unfamiliar with Brad, I did an interview with him just a little while back. He is very much one of the pioneers of the MMORPG genre, the multiplayer, massively multiplayer online role-playing game genre. And you think of these games, many of you will think World of Warcraft, certainly the most dominant one. Some of you will think Elder Scrolls Online, which just came out. I personally always think of EverQuest. EverQuest is certainly a game that Brad was very influential in. You may also think of Vanguard, which is a game that Brad was very influential in. And Brad's latest project is Pantheon. And Brad, we have some bad news about Pantheon, don't we?
We do. It's kind of bittersweet. We've made it to the point where we've got a solid business plan and a term sheet and a good prototype to show off. But the crowdfunding has only brought us up to this point. So as of this week, development has kind of gone into hibernation, and we're just out reaching out to potential investors looking to get that funding to really take it to the next step, actually get an office and actually have a job and not just have contracts and things like that.
And so now it's just a matter of getting the game shown off to a variety of people out there who are in the industry, who know people in the industry, looking for investment and backing through a big company. Now, this is how it's often done. And so this is, like you said, not a bad place. In fact, you said to me earlier tonight, you've got a working zone in which you can, what all can you do in that zone?
You can walk around, you can see other people, so you're actually logging onto a server. You can see other, the other team members running around. There's NPCs that will attack you, and you can cast different spells on them. And it shows off some of our combat system that allows you to actually react to what the NPC or the mob's doing to you, counter spells, things like that. So the two things we wanted to accomplish was to prototype the combat, and then to show off the Unity engine as best as we could. I mean, it's not final artwork, but we did put a lot of effort into the visuals there.
And that's what I'm showing off right now. I've got a couple of screenshots that I've been cycling through here on the screen. And this zone is beautiful. Now, what zone is this? Specifically, what part of the game is this?
This is the Sunken Sanctum, and it's just it's our first dungeon. And, it's in an area that's pretty much of a wasteland. And it'll be one of the first dungeons that you enter into and hopefully go through and conquer.
And it looks actually beautiful,
Oh, thanks.
I love the lighting. This is using what engine again?
This is the Unity 3D engine, and this is the incredible artwork of the team that really put it together.
So, I mean, obviously you're certainly not ready for release or anything, but at this point, would you say you have almost a working alpha?
No, I wouldn't call it an alpha. An alpha really should be pretty darn feature complete. So I would consider this a prototype, with a focus on the engine, the networking, and the combat at this point.
But of course, if you had an investor in, you could show them something. You could show them what you've got. Definitely, you said simple spells working, things along that line. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was our goal. We started talking with different investors over a month ago. But we've really been building up. I mean, a proper accredited investor expects a solid business plan and a term sheet, and showing them a demo of your work in progress certainly can't hurt. So we're on it full time right now, and just ready to reach out. So that's the good news. The good news is we're poised and ready to reach out. The bummer is that the crowdfunding, not as many people repledged as we had hoped after the issue with Kickstarter, and so we were able to take things as far as they would go. The good news is we have stuff to show. The sad news is, we can't go forward with development until we actually get some real funding in.
Which is really frustrating looking at these screenshots and imagining After everything you've gone through, after every game you've touched, everything you've worked with, to see your all's vision, and I know you had an absurdly talented team as well. So to see this on hiatus, certainly only that. But to see this on a temporary hiatus is very frustrating because I'm looking at the screenshots and I'm just thinking I want to play in that world right now. And again, for the people who don't know you, your design philosophy is pretty different from what you're seeing right now with. And I know you said you haven't played this game, Elder Scrolls Online. A lot different from you see with World of Warcraft. Certainly you played it, I would imagine. Different from what you see with Star Wars: The Old Republic. Your game design philosophy really focused on socialization in every game that you've ever touched, and I know you had mentioned that that was a big focus here. Why is it? And I know we talked about this a little pre-show here that we're not gonna badmouth any game, so we're not gonna call anybody out specifically. But right now, when Elder Scrolls is coming out, a lot of people they don't have the attachment that they were hoping to get. And there are a good number of people playing, and they seem to be enjoying themselves, and that's great. But what I heard more and more often is it's just another MMO. It's just another MMO. And the more I can tell, the more I begin to realize that people are sick of the current style of MMO. Why do you think that is?
They've gone a certain way. They've gotten bigger and flashier. But I think they've also focused on, accessibility to the point that you're not really reliant on anybody else. And if you I think it's a matter of human nature. If you put somebody into a situation where they don't need help, there's no reason to say hello to the guy walking by, a lot of people won't socialize. And I think, you have a neat looking zone, you've got great graphics or what have you, sound, but if you don't start forming those relationships pretty quickly in an MMO, it does just feel like here's another virtual world I'm walking around. So that's certainly what we're trying to bring back, is that you need each other. You fulfill a role, and the game is focused on grouping, and hopefully you get a sense of accomplishment after, and you feel like you're part of a team and that you have a role to play, and people are relying on you and you're relying on them. So that's it for me. I mean, it's some people, it's everyone has a different perspective, but when I walk around some of these games, I just feel alone, and when I feel alone, the immersion isn't there anymore. I'm no longer lost in a virtual world. I'm kind of ripped back like a bad movie or something. I'm ripped back to, I'm just playing a video game.
Yep. That's one of the biggest things with Elder Scrolls Online. I played it in the beta, and I do own it. I just have even though I bought it, I haven't been able to bring myself to actually log in. But when I was playing in the beta, sure, it's a persistent online world, but there was literally no reason for the first 10 levels for me to interact with any other person. And in fact, when I saw somebody else, I felt like I was playing Skyrim, the next Skyrim, I even started in a Nordic area, the whole snowy wastelands. I felt like I was playing Skyrim up until I saw some guy named Dick Butt who was running around, and he was turning in the exact same quest I was about to do, and so the monsters that he needed to gather were following him, and he turns and looks at me, and I'm like, oh, I should say hello, and I'm doing this on live stream too, and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? And he goes, shut up, fag, or whatever. I forget what to say, something horrible. And I'm like, why would I want to do this? And it reminds me, even then, I was talking about it that night, it reminds me of the very first time I went to, the Knoll Burrow, north of Kenos. What was that called? Blackburrow, that's the one. The very first time we'd ventured in Blackburrow, and I fell down that pit, and the stupid fucking tree. And so, of course, okay, I got to get my corpse back. How do I get my corpse back? Well, there's a camp where people would routinely camp right underneath that tree, so they would see these corpses fall in all day, and they would drag them to the top, and the guy who rescued my corpse, we ended up leveling for the next 40 levels. The very first time, somebody taught you how the camp system worked, and everybody's so eager to interact and talk, and even when I was walking out of the newbie field, it was a little nameless then, but as soon as you went over to the Coronis, the chat there was always so vibrant, so alive, Zone chat was always so exciting. What's there to do in the zone? And people are laughing about calling camps, and they're calling these camps like, I'm northwest corner wisps or northwest corner nulls, and you're like, oh, I can only imagine what it's like there. I can't wait to see that part of the zone. Very different from World of Warcraft, which leads you by the nose. And I get that a lot of players need to be led by the nose. I get that. I know it's the whole theme park system of, well, come look at this amazing thing, this little rail we put together for you. Get on the rail and ride the rail, and then come over here and ride this rail. And I get it, but that's what I was hoping for with Pantheon. That's what I'm excited about when Pantheon finally gets to go live. When you find the right investor, the idea of return to socializing.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan, and I think obviously those other games were very successful, and people have different tastes, and we're just we want to reach out to you and to me and to the game that we want to make and that you sound excited about, and it's kind of bringing back that socialization and that helping each other out, and I think targeting an audience like that, hopefully you won't have the guy just ignoring you or cussing at you or whatever. It should be a situation where you're relying on people, and hopefully people will be more friendly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That was, and again, I'm always going to hark back to EverQuest when I'm talking to you because I'm a one-trick pony, man. That game, some people don't realize that I always have a case of hero worship with you for your hand. It just about everybody else that was on that team at the time, or the team well up into the Lost Dungeons of Norath. All these people that I got to work with, and all these people I got to play with, and just phenomenal people. So severe amount of hero worship for you and everybody else.
Well, yeah, certainly it was absolutely a team effort, and the guys that have kept it going now 15 years, everyone deserves a huge amount of credit for that. So
it is really crazy. That is the longest running MMORPG, and I'm willing to bet World of Warcraft can go that long, but will it? Because at some point, Blizzard's going to want its numbers back. Blizzard's going to introduce World of Warcraft 2 or some sort of way to recapture that audience, and I think it'll nearly kill off the first game. But like Smedley said the other day, EverQuest 2 did not kill EverQuest.
That's true.
And certainly, probably never will. He hopes to see those games running for another 20 years if he can.
I think so. Yeah. Back that reminds you of back when we were worried about that. We're like, well, we got to get a sequel going here. Well, we'll call it EverQuest 2. Everyone will flock and migrate over to that, and we'll just leave EverQuest 1 and let it slowly die. And now EverQuest 2 is going strong for year after year. So. I think that's why they call it EverQuest Next, because they don't want to call it 3, because all these games can coexist.
Yep.
Which is really neat.
Oh, and I'm definitely looking forward to EverQuest Next. I know you're going to play it. You'll have to. But what I was going to say was that in EverQuest, of course there were bad guys. Of course there was a guy who'd create a character named Dick Butt, and whatever if he could get through the filter. And of course there were people who were notoriously famous for being trolls in that game. I remember they created those servers where anything goes, and there was a bard. Do you remember the name of this famous bard? Who would troll giants onto everybody in South Row?
No.
Anyway, the point that I'm making is she became notorious outside of the game for having done it. Chansey the bard or something to that effect. So if you were a dick butt in EverQuest, you would become famous for being that dick butt. And grouping was so important, guilding was so important that unless you're playing a druid or a necro, really you had no chance to solo anything. So, and it always was funny. The broken people were drawn to those classes. You ever notice that? Because they could solo.
Different personalities were drawn to different classes for sure. Yeah.
Every dick butt played a necro, I think. Not that all necros were dick butts. Forgive my informal. I know. Sure, he's like, man, I can't believe this guy's interviewing me right now. But yeah, you would become notorious on that server in a very bad way, and the ramifications for that were horrendous. But that was funny. Everybody knew your name. It was the cheers of video games, and I want to get back to that. Damn it.
Well, and a lot of people too who came into the game and weren't very social and didn't play well with others. A lot of them learned and retired that character and came on to somebody else, and and they did great. They realized how much fun it was to group and make new friends and such. So hopefully some of those guys, I think most of them probably realized, it was better to make friends than to be that person.
I remember when Kurt Schilling was moving forward with Green Monster Games or whatever the name of the company, and I know he had to change it from Green Monster. I can't remember the new name, but he was working on his game. Was it Kingdoms of Amalur, something to that effect? And I was gilded with Kurt Schilling and the EverQuest 2 beta, so we talk about it routinely. And right about that time, he pointed me out to a article about the future of massively multiplayer online role-playing games and how the writing would be the key. And, of course, he was working with some big names. I forget who. R.A. Salvador, was that one of them?
Sorry, and then I think Todd McFarlane was involved to some degree.
And so he pointed me to this article in some business magazine talking about how the future of MMOs would be big writers writing these awesome chapters that would happen on a monthly basis, and you would all jointly tell this incredible story of this incredible world. And I always thought that might have been his vision. And of course, I guess we'll never know now at this point. I guess that game is officially dead, right? I don't
know. That's my understanding. Unfortunately, the assets and everything are tied up. So
that's such a shame.
It's definitely a shame.
Did you play the standalone game Kingdom of Amalur?
I did. Yeah.
Did you like? It was good. I enjoyed it.
I'm pretty sure they got that from a different developer, but it was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
So I asked you this question, but I know it's going to be on other people's minds. So I want to get that answer again. Had you guys thought about designing the team that you have, and or either you personally working together to create a smaller game that would maybe tie into the bigger game, the bigger game pantheon, that could give people a taste of the lore, the idea of what's coming, and give you a chance to get funding through selling a smaller game, the way they had attempted to do. Do you think had that thought ever occurred to your mind?
We talked about it. Pantheon already is a really focused and targeted game with features, focused features, and not trying to appeal to every audience. It's an interesting idea. It really, a lot of things, unfortunately, it's not necessarily what we want. It's how successful we are bringing in the money and how much money and when it comes. And I think I'm confident it'll happen. I feel, I'm always kind of an optimist. Otherwise, EQ never would have been finished.
Right, exactly.
But so I think it's going to happen, but I don't know exactly when and how much. And the hope would be to bring the team back and build the team and have an office. But if it's a different situation, maybe it would make sense to take maybe the zone that we have already worked on, and just make a fun dungeon crawl, multi-user dungeon crawl using part of the world. So I wouldn't rule that out. It's not our dream. Our dream is to be able to make the full MMO. That's the idea, the concept, and the world that we're.
And you gotta stay focused. I get that for sure.
You got to be. It's really more than that. You have to be virtually in love with it. I mean, it has to become a big passion, part of your life. So whenever you hear a smaller portion or less featured, it's kind of like you kind of cringe. But I don't know.
That is though, and I got to tell you, especially even when it comes to smaller developers, even when it comes to smaller developing houses, that is really what makes a game good. Like that innovation is a big key for all of us, I think. And then, of course, I think it's what the MMORPG genre is missing. I think they're really missing innovation. It's all the same, but passion, man, passion. And you can really tell, especially when an independent developer works on a game. Fez, being the controversial title that it is glorious because of how passionate its very controversial developer was. I still can't believe you canceled Fez 2 in a moment of fit and rage, but I also can understand it. But you play these games, and again, that's something that I am eager about with Pantheon. That's why it's so devastating to hear that development is halted. So I'm just saying, man, somebody out there with some some money, please.
That's my shameless plug. If anybody knows an accredited investor, please have them contact me, Brad at PantheonROTF.com. There's my plug for the evening. But we would really appreciate it.
I
And such.
Yes, I got to tell you, when you contacted me originally, I was jazzed because the idea of revitalizing what is, to me, almost a dead genre. It's certainly a money-losing genre. You can ask the good folks at EA about that because they lost their ass on SWTOR, and I believe we're going to see them lose their ass on Elder Scrolls Online. But then again, I haven't really played, so it's difficult. It's difficult to really give them a fair shake. I don't know what their end game is like. I don't know any of that stuff. But EverQuest Next was one of the reasons I'm so eager to play that game is because it's so unique. Like, that's a whole new direction. Of course, they announced, what was it, the zombie-based one. What is that game? H1N1? Is that really the name of it? Have you seen the ads for this?
No.
Zombie MMO to that some extent, and very eager.
Yeah, that's been tried. But, the idea of doing kind of an undead. I'm not surprised.
So what I'm trying to say is, Smedley, call this guy. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, Smed and I are great friends, and we talk fairly often. And all their efforts right now, it's all about Landmark and EQ Next, and it needs to be. And I am very excited about that game, especially the technology that's behind it.
It's such a good time. It's such a good time to be alive and be a gamer, isn't it? I imagine it's only going to be even better to be a developer. To know that you have all these tools at your hand, all these incredible games coming out, all these wonderful, and more eyes on them than ever. I mean, there are more gamers alive today than the very first time you logged into a MUD, certainly. Even more so than when you launched Vanguard. More ample, excited, eager people.
Yes, absolutely. It's just about getting the word out, and and people hopefully realizing and being drawn to different games with that focus on different things.
So, okay, here's a question. I know it's a bit off topic, and I know you're working hard. Are you playing anything right now? I have to know.
Call of Duty Ghosts.
Oh, you liking Ghosts?
Yeah, well, we just had some family in town. I had my nephew in town, and that's what we did a lot of the time was play against the AI. Pretty impressive. We were dying a lot to the recruit, the lowest level AI. So
yeah, I see you did not get on the Titanfall hype train. Then
no.
I would not have taken you as a shooter. I was you know what game I was expecting? I swear to God, EVE Online. That's what I was expecting.
I think I'm afraid of some of these games that I just know I'll get sucked into, and I need to be able to focus. So being able to sit down with my nephew and just kill some bad guys for half an hour, that works for me. Being sucked in to an MMO when I'm trying to make an MMO is probably not a good idea.
Somebody in chat's like, you could just see the disappointment on Boogie's face when he said Ghosts. I haven't played Ghosts. I've never really got too much into Call of Duty console-style shooters. I drank the Titanfall Kool-Aid, and I still love it. I only play it about once a week, and then only for a couple of hours, but I'm really, really enjoying the game. I really need to live stream it more.
I love cooperative play. Really, I don't get as much into the storylines and everything like that. I like sitting down. I mean, I remember back at Sigil when we had some LAN parties and things, and played some RTSs. Played some of the early Tom Clancy games, Rainbow Six, and working as a team, either against other players, but just beating the AI sometime, and just being that to me captured a little bit of what you get out of an MMO. In a raid or something, as you are actually working together. So
that's of course, and that's one of the reasons I was so excited for Left 4 Dead, and then Left 4 Dead 2, which is a stark improvement, but it split the base, the player base, which is really frustrating. And now waiting for that Left 4 Dead 3, man. Sometimes I could just choke Gabe Newell. Dude, hey, have you ever spoken with Gabe Newell?
I don't think so, no.
If you get the opportunity, and you have a much more likely opportunity than me, slap him for me, will you? Just right in the face and say, I am the one guy who doesn't give a shit about Half-Life 3. There, I said it. I know people are going to leave the stream in droves after that. But I'm Left 4 Dead 3. Fuck Half-Life. Give me Left 4 Dead 3. But yeah, co-op is where it's at. What system do you play on when you're saying Call of Duty Ghosts?
I still got the 360. I've attempted to pick up the Xbox One, but still playing on the 360 right now.
I was going to recommend, depending, because the Xbox 360 version of Plants vs Zombies, my understanding, does not have co-op play, split screen co-op. If you get the opportunity, split screens co-op on Plants vs Zombies for the Xbox One.
All right.
Oh my God!
Really?
It's one of the best shooters I've ever played in my life. It's my wife's first shooter, and I know eventually it'll be on PC or whatever. You'll have the opportunity to play it there.
Right.
But holy crap, I've never had that much fun in a cooperative shooter in my life. And it's kind of Left 4 Dead-ish, only with that Plants vs. Zombies style, the bizarrely unique monsters and bizarrely unique classes.
Didn't that start out as more of a tower defense game? And
Yep, that's exactly what it was. And that they kind of stole that here in the co-op mode, and that you're defending a garden and then infinite waves of zombies until eventually you're crushed.
Sounds right up my alley.
It's when I'll look into it. And so you're an Xbox guy, man. Oh, we're just gonna have a fight by the end of this. I'm gonna end up knocking you out, man.
I'm a console guy when there's friends over or family over.
Yeah,
you know
that's why. That's the only reason my Wii U isn't covered in dust right now. It's because every once in a while we'll have somebody over and we'll play 4-player new Mario or whatever. Right. That's fun. It's okay. It's okay.
Still a loyal PC gamer at heart, but it's easier when the friends and family are over. You can sit in front of the big TV and play some cooperative games, and it's fun.
I absolutely am what I like to call the Pokemon style of gamer, in which I just want to collect them all. Like, I want to play every game that's out there. That was one of the biggest things, again, with MMORPGs that keep bringing me back. Exploration, seeing what's new, seeing what the next spell my class is going to get, the next spell, the next dungeon that I'll get to see, the next. And so one of the biggest concerns for me is always in-game. The end game has to be continually evolving. That's one of the things I think World of Warcraft certainly did right, in that they would slow roll their content for each expansion, so you couldn't just power through it. Of course, EverQuest did the same thing, but with multiple expansions. But what kind of end game did you guys have in mind for Pantheon? Like, what are you looking forward to doing?
Really, the same kind of thing. To me, the end game should always be a moving target. It should always, however you're going to add content, with the expansions or quick digital downloads, things like that. You can never keep ahead of some of just the guys that play it nonstop. But you've got to make an effort to keep adding content, and it goes back to reading fantasy novels as a kid, and then you find out, there's a land beyond Oz, there's another land, and there's this, and there's something new, and something a new type of creature to fight, and that's the fantasy part of it. And I think you just need to these worlds need to expand, and that with Terminus, the world in Pantheon, we have that idea that these different shards of reality collide with the planet. So the planet's always growing, and it's getting all sorts of wild and crazy, shards from different dimensions and other realities. And so, the sky is the limit in terms of where we can go. We're not going to get sci-fi or something, but it does offer us you could be in one zone and move to another zone and have a completely different atmosphere, different climate, different setting, different feel.
You've actually got me drooling here right now. Like, I want that so bad.
So do I.
One of the things that I loved about the Dungeons & Dragons universe, which, of course, we always have to admit, anytime we're talking about any RPG, we're all still heavily influenced by the idea that Gary Gygax had on the toilet one day,
That's right.
But
and then and Tolkien and C.S. Lewis before that.
Of course. But the whole concept of the multiverse is something that always is absolutely fascinating me. I'm an avid Magic the Gathering player, and they really, really do well with the multiverse. You ever give that a shot by chance?
I am a full-on addict. I've been playing since the dark. 90.
Yes! We found the common ground!
There you go. We can be friends again.
Awesome. Yay. I don't have to kill you at all now.
Yeah. No. Unfortunately, I missed, a year or two earlier would have been great. I would have bought a bunch of beta cards, but I missed out on that. But 93, I think.
Oh, no, that's
we play at my house every Friday night.
Still a good time to come in, actually. And that's it's my favorite social game. Are you more of an EDH player, or what do you play? What do you do?
Similar, just multiplayer, free-for-all multiplayer.
Oh, God, I miss those days.
Get a 6-7 game, player game going, and anyone can attack anyone, and it's a lot of politics and making deals. Like if you don't attack, if I tap out on this guy, will you not attack me next turn?
Oh,
Things
you're
like
killing me. You're killing me now. Okay, I'm coming over. We're playing Magic this Friday. I'm gonna skip F&M at my local store. I'm coming to your place.
you're welcome anytime.
But but the multiverse in the World of Warcraft, the World of War, the Magic the Gathering universe is phenomenal. We've covered almost every facet of fantasy, every facet of. I mean, currently in a Roman style, pantheon, as it were. And we've done Japanese style culture. We've done the whole Lorwyn super cutesy style, the storybook style. It's crazy. It's really crazy looking back on how well that's done. And so, I mean, are you talking something to that effect where you could literally have worlds colliding?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, the difference here is we thought it would be cool to, instead of making a game where you went through portals to different realities, we thought it would be really neat to have those realities come and collide with the existing world, and then we could set up conflict. Like, what do the elves that have been living there 1,000 years, suddenly they have new neighbors, and they may not play well with each other, or suddenly you have there's new gods from this other dimension, and they find out there's not just one thunder god, there's now two, and they're not going to get along, that sort of thing. So we thought that would not only give us a lot of creativity, from creativity, but also you can create that storyline and that conflict that always needs to happen. So,
God, that sounds beautiful. It really sounds beautiful. Oh, jeez, man. You're killing me. You're actually killing me tonight. I'm not gonna lie. So once again, if you're out there and you've got way too much money on your hands, oh, we could use some. Well, Brad could use some. I could use some too. If you're spreading around the love. So you went the crowdfunding source, and I think your original pledge was how much? How much was it?
On Kickstarter,
Yeah, Kickstarter.
we would set the number 800,000. We got about 450,000, I think.
And then you went a second time to try to repledge.
Yeah, I got about 150, 160 around there, and
and at that point, it was just a matter of getting the word back out. And I apologize for failing you on that effect, for the record.
No, you helped out tremendously. Thank you.
And so now you're looking. Now you mentioned when you want to get a backer so that you can get into an office. Have you guys been doing all of this from home?
Yes. Yeah, everything's been remote. We're very familiar with Skype's unique interface.
That is insane to me because of what I've seen that you've accomplished so far. That is mind-boggling to me. Well, I can't believe you guys could do that from Skype meetings. That's crazy.
Yeah, we probably did 4 or 5 team meetings up in my garage, but the vast majority of the time it was just over Skype, and it is amazing how much can get done remotely, but it still isn't as excited as I was to see how much could get done and the neat technology, and we could use source control over the internet and share in the project. It is not as efficient as being together in an office, and nor is you just don't have that constant collaboration and brainstorming that you do have when you're together. So that's a big part of our next goal there is to take this game to the next level where it needs to go. We need to have steady employment, and we need to be in an office together collaborating.
So are you willing to take a few questions from the audience at this point?
Sure.
All right, now I have one, and this is a completely... Now, you're going to have to remember that these are going to be a little sparingly weird. They're not all going to be about Pantheon. We're going to start you off one that's completely off base. Somebody says, your thoughts on Lineage 2, the best MMO of all time that now currently sucks. Did you ever play Lineage?
I did.
And what did you think?
And Lineage 2. Yeah, I don't want to... I never want to be the guy that criticizes another game. For me, it was a little too grindy, but it was certainly, especially Lineage 2 was beautiful. I enjoyed it for a while. It was just a little too grindy for me. Believe it or not, because I'm with EverQuest, people have said that I'm into the grind, and we made some mistakes there, and we don't want a grindy game, but there you go.
There you go. Pantheon, not grindy. Good.
Yeah, yes, a concerted effort to minimize the grind. I mean, a grind is when someone gets bored doing something over and over again. And
Well,
that has to happen to some degree, right? I mean, MMOs are kind of Groundhog Day, but it is the responsibility of us developers to try to vary your activities and have you move around the world and have you encounter different stories and different mobs. And it should not be, you shouldn't uh, think that, hey, the most efficient way for me to level up is just to kill this mob, 5,000 times. We shouldn't allow those kind of scenarios to exist because then you got people who are grinding and leveling, but they're probably not happy about it. So,
Xbox wants to know, what about plans for voice acting in Pantheon? Now, you're certainly not at that stage right now, but given the perfect world, what would you like to do?
so the majority of the game is the plan is to be not instance, but then at the kind of the culmination of certain epic level quests, we were probably going to use the plan is to use some instancing, and I think in instancing you can tell a linear storyline. You can be on a rail for a little while. That's okay on occasion, like again at a culmination of a big quest, and I can see some voice acting making sense there. At the same time, voice acting is very expensive, and if I'm given a budget and it's more zones, more dungeons, more loot, or voice acting, I'm going to go for the dungeons. So
I hear you. Now, if you needed a voice actor that works cheap, you know who to call. I'm here.
all right,
So here's the question, and this is going to get a little more broad, I think.
okay,
But I'm gonna bring it back home. So we seen the Oculus Rift be the next godsend, and then tank hard when the Facebook bike came out. We seen Project Morpheus from Sony. We know we're still all going to buy the Oculus. It's just fun to get really mad about it. What do you think about VR? What do you think about as the potential future for gaming? Gimmick or the wave of the future?
I think it's the wave of the future, but there's certainly some people getting motion sickness. There's some technology and there's some refinement that still needs to be done. Um, but to me, it's more immersive, and I feel just like I like to go to the movies as opposed to watch a show on the TV. I want that big screen or OmniMax, and I just want to be encompassed in this whatever world and whatever I'm watching. It's the same kind of thing. It just brings it more to you. So I think it's going to be the future, but there's still some issues that have to be worked out.
So let's imagine we're now year one into Pantheon's development. Money's not an issue because you got bought up by let's go with the best people in the world, Valve. Valve has decided to back you for their first MMO. Okay,
That's good.
and they say we've got our prototype VR device, and we really think if you were the first VR MMO, what do you think? Would you work in that direction if you had the backing and you had the people with the device? Could you work to support the Oculus Rift? Could you work to support?
Yeah, I would. We would certainly make an attempt. As long as it again, you don't want to stray from the course. You want to focus on getting the game done. If we had the help and the technology was there and the API, the interface to it and everything, yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to try to make it work. As long as it didn't distract the core of the team and getting the game done.
Somebody on the chat said you should just call Facebook because Facebook is apparently buying everything. So there's always that option.
Right. Or Google.
Yeah, it really comes down to, and I think you're right. I think virtuality is the wave of the future, and that's exactly how I want to consume media. Like, certainly I would use a high fidelity headset to watch Frozen again, even if it wasn't VR, even if it was just two screens strapped to my head for the immersiveness. Give me 1 second. The problem is, and anybody who's used an Oculus Rift, have you used an Oculus Rift?
Hmm.
Anybody will tell you that technology, until developers get two ships, is already a flawed technology out of the gates. Consumers are not going to be able to use that. There's too much delay when you look left and right. That screen mesh, low fidelity, that's not a project you can ship.
But you know what? I'm glad they're trying.
Me too.
It just has to happen. I always used to joke way back in EverQuest that EverQuest was version 0.00001 of the holodeck, right? I mean, that's where we all want to go.
That's the
And
dream, man.
we may not be alive when there finally is a holodeck, but that's I think that's where all of us who love virtual worlds and what I love making them. That's the direction we want to head, and the more immersive you can get it, the better. So
I grew up on the next generation, and certainly I was influenced. My idea of sci-fi is heavily influenced by it. And of all the things that I thought Gene Roddenberry was going to get right, or the Star Wars universe would get Star Trek universe would get right, the holodeck is the one I wanted. You know what we got instead? Fucking smartphones. We got communication devices. What a jip, man! I can't believe that we're sitting there talking to Siri. Hello, computer, and it can't do anything, and it doesn't do it right anyway.
it's good. It's good for posting pictures of your cats and things. I mean,
I don't remember that episode of Jean-Luc going, computer, show me cat pictures, you know? Or let's be honest, what the internet's really made for is porn. Where was that? I never saw, was there ever an episode in which they just used the holodeck for porn?
not that they showed, I think, on TV. No.
God. Now, I'm very upset. There's someone in the chat has to do this for me, and I apologize for making you feel uncomfortable. If there is a holodeck version of porn, of like a porn parody of the Star Trek Next Generation, please send me a link to that, because I will watch it tonight. And also, if you're a porn producer out there, I have two favors to ask of you. Number one, make that if it doesn't exist. Number two, I know this really cool game, Pantheon, that could use some funding.
No. We're more of a family game. We're all ages.
What? That's something. Just out of curiosity. Sexism in gaming is, of course, something that continually comes up. We're always talking about that with character models, and I know. I mean, obviously, the answer is going to be. I know the answer is going to be that you're sensitive to such an issue, and that you, Captain and certainly the models that you've helped generate before have not been too flashy. Pantheon, what direction were you going in with character models?
The same thing. I think we can make both male and female characters heroic, and something that people can look up to without really, without going too far and doing, certain stereotypes and things like that. So I think, there's more and more female players. My daughter loves to play MMOs, and she wants to look up to, or have her character look like a heroic, powerful woman. And I just don't see the need to go that far. If we were making a game just for 18 to 24-year-old males, that'd be one thing, but we're not. We're making a game for all ages and all types of people.
It's really nice to hear that, because right now there is that genre of new media that is currently targeting, the 12 to 15-year-old adolescent males who are getting into the, exploring their sexuality for the first time. And so you see the Facebook ads, you see the YouTube videos, you see certain Twitch streamers, and we know who we're talking about. You don't know who I'm talking about. They know who I'm talking about, who are focusing on that demographic. And so it's really refreshing to hear somebody that wants to go in the opposite direction of that. Maybe not the dire opposite, not like extreme opposite, but yeah, I love the idea. I've always been a big fan of, and let's see if I can talk you into it. I say over-sexualize equally. Now, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'll get this whole 5 minute set in which I'm like, here's the thing. I like giant-breasted females, but let's put giant packages on the male characters too, so everyone feels equally uncomfortable. Like, that would be great, Like, if you've got to pick a direction, go with it. But do you do anything in the MOBA genre? Do you play any of those games?
Not really. I'm also afraid to be sucked in to those as well.
Oh man, let me tell you something. League of Legends. Now, I played it from right after beta, right at live, to about, I guess, close to 8 months ago. Every day. And got tired of it. Eventually, just like finally was like, done. Just done. And I could not bring myself to play another game. And I've tried, but I can't.
Did you go to Dota or anything like that? Or?
No, I just kind of was like, I feel like I've got my fill of MOBAs now. I can probably stay away from the isometric MOBA for a good while.
That happened to me with RTSs, but I still want an old school RTS to come back, but I got to that point as well, playing all the different RTS games. After a while, it was here we go again. But
All right.
I love the genre so bad.
Uh, the reason I say stay away from League of Legends because I think everybody has a finite number of games, but it's a lot of them, and it's like all consuming. Get into like Heroes of the Storm, the new one being developed by Blizzard. A little more casual in that the games are quicker, but it's still just as deep. And so it's not a 45 minutes ruining your life occurrence, because you're a dad. And you mentioned your daughter. I don't mean to get too personal, but is she a teen? Is she a preteen? Is she, if it's okay?
She's a teenager.
All right, so then you definitely got your hands full.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how you could develop anything while trying to raise teenagers. Good Lord. Yeah, those time consuming is, and that's what of course I do love about an MMO. But at the same time, and we talked about this in our first interview, you weren't looking for something you logged into for 12 hours. You were looking for, what was your design idea for that?
Well, I mean, the idea is, we're going after the same, some of the same people that did put in those crazy hours, but we understand, ourselves included, that again, yeah, we have families and jobs and lives and stuff like that. So, 2 to 4 hour maybe, play times, and then the big thing there is we have to make sure that we give you an area to log off with your buddies, and then we make it easy to come back in later and continue on, because we still want these huge dungeons that do take hours and hours, days to explore. You don't have to do it all at once or in one giant epic 12-hour raid or something like that. So that's one of our challenges is making sure that we design the dungeon to achieve both the epic nature of the dungeon, but still not requiring the epic amount of time.
Yeah, I think that's every
amount of time. Right.
Every person I spoke to from Praxis, or all that I played with on Praxis, they're all kind of like, man, I'd love to see Brad make another game, but God, I really want to maintain my life now.
Exactly, and we do too. So, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Now, I know did you play EverQuest as well as run the thing when you were playing back in the day?
I did not start seriously playing it probably until maybe a year after it was out. We were just too busy, and I was like, man, I want to play my own game, And we actually had a lot of fun. We had some different people. I played with Jim Lee from DC Comics and a few other guys. We kind of all played covertly. No one knew who or we were. Some of the developers, and so yeah, we got into it and played as much as we could. Probably, Kunark was already out around that time period.
So, best EverQuest story. Do you have one?
And
if not, I've got one queued up, so I can I can give you time to think.
Boy, of actually playing it, right? I think most of my the interesting times were being a really bad GM early on.
I only ever saw you once in game, but the time that I saw you in game, it just floored me. It just absolutely floored me with the green armor and the fiery sword, and of course that fiery sword model was not available in the game anywhere else, and
right.
Everybody's just like, my God.
That that does remind me. The best time I ever had was I believe it was the very end. Why was it beta 1 or 2? It was one of the end of the betas, and I buffed myself up and to ridiculous amounts of hit points and an AC and everything, and went in there and like 200 people were trying to kill me, and it took several hours, and then finally they did, and they looted my corpse, and they were running around with all the green armor and the fiery Avenger, and just the laughter and the people. That was the most fun time that I ever had. It was still a small enough community, so it must have been beta 1 or beta 2, but it was still a small enough community where I knew a lot of the people, and they were laughing, and there were screenshots of me laying there dead, and or that there was a time that I zoned into Catch Keep and didn't have invulnerability on, and I was trying to do a GM, trying to interact with the players, and I drowned, things like that. But those would probably be some of my favorite memories.
My, God, his favorite. Jeez, now we're talking. One of my most invigorating stories is Trackanon now. Yeah, were you playing during that period of time? We're saying the tail end of Ruins of Kunark is.
Yep,
So,
yep.
playing Ruins of Kunark long before I adopted the test server and met the developers, Jason Mashball, Carrico, those guys that I hung out with, Scott Hartzman, of course. Um, well, I'm breaking. I think someone's breaking into the house. If I get murdered tonight, by the way, Brad, it's been a pleasure.
Okay.
We were doing tracking on, and you had that the stupid protector, and I still don't know who designed that fight. I don't know who if they wanted you to fight the protector with tracking on. I don't know who the developer was who designed that fight. I don't know if you wanted you to fight them at the same time or if you wanted to separate them, but we always separated them in the early on. Presume is that the strategy you guys did as well. Have monks work at it for 20 minutes, depending on how smart the monk was, and wait for pathing to go right. So they pull the stupid protector, and we're downing the protector, and I was on dial-up at the time, so God help us, most of us were. And it was before they had given us that awesome ability to turn off a majority of the combat stuff. And so you'd hit that protector, and I would go dead. And so I came back immediately, which took just a couple of seconds, really, and log back in to see the protector die. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. Now we're going to get tracking on. And so everybody's like, all right, heal up, buff up, and we'll go as soon as we can. And we see a wing sticking through the wall.
Through the wall.
Because Trachanon has somehow, one of the monks decided to come back to the cave.
And he's
and he hasn't memory wiped. And just the best wipe. And it was the most frustrating moment. I'll never forget that. But that became a cliche in our guild for the rest of the time that we were playing together, well into Lost Dungeons of Noreth, all throughout Planes of Power. Someone in the middle of a chat would say, I see a wing.
I see a wing.
I see a wing. God help us, I see a wing.
Some bad's gonna happen.
Man, that game.
Well, see, there you go, a wipe. Yeah, the wipe. I think, certainly going back to playing MUDs in the early '90s, that's what I remember: the wipes and the rescues and the camaraderie and the joking about it later. Yeah, those are the memories that I have.
Right, and
Fun.
Of course, I still the same memories I have for World of Warcraft. I think it's the memories that you always bring from these games. Is of course, in World of Warcraft too, but it was so much harder to find in World of Warcraft. That camaraderie, that commitment, that connection, that level of discussion, and it was never in game that we ever had it. You would meet somebody in game, you would join a guild, you would jump to their vent server, their TeamSpeak server, their raid call server, and that's where you have the interaction. And it's so weird to see these games push away from that. And I guess in the interest of ease of use, the interest of whatever. So again, one of the reasons to this day you may remain at the top of my list of favorite human beings is because you're no longer a punishing developer. You're a developer who understands the need of letting us interact, and that's awesome. Makes me very happy.
Oh, thanks. So certainly those other games have been very successful, and I think there's just different. People are different, and they're looking for different things at MMOs, and we're definitely on the same page in terms of what kind of gameplay we want to bring back. And we're confident that there's a lot of people out there that either they've experienced it and they want to experience it again, albeit in shorter bursts. But I think there'll be a lot of younger players too that will get into it because they're just used to these fast shoot 'em up. Halo, Call of Duty, whatever, Battlefield. And, I've got to believe that there's younger guys out there that are looking for that kind of teamwork too. I don't think it's anything unique to our generation. That doesn't make any sense. So
I hear you. So, all right. Now, there's a couple of people who say they've just joined the chat. There's a couple of people who are new in, and I'm literally getting at the top of my lungs in all caps, talk about Pantheon, please. So, I promised you I'd let you go after just an hour. We're getting really close to that. So, you're a pitchman, right? You're pitching a game. I want you to give me your best Pantheon pitch for all the people watching right now, just in hopes that one of them is some Middle Eastern billionaire looking to buy.
All right. Well, with Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, we're trying to do two different things. We're trying to bring back Some of the earlier MMO experiences where you really work together as a group, as a team, you play a role, and it's just like playing soccer and having a great time, and or any other kind of sport. It's that cooperative play. Trying to bring that back into a challenging world that's all about exploration. It's about finding that fat loot at the depths of a dungeon and conquering a certain boss mob and figuring out the right tactics. It's really a lot about situation, about having the right gear for the right moment and for the right region. There's different climates. It's again, like I spoke earlier, it's the world is just poised to be extremely interesting to explore because the world of Terminus is constantly, well, not it at different times it's bombarded with shards from different universes, realities, and you start out in a kind of a traditional high fantasy environment with more, you're playing more of a traditional high fantasy race. But as the farther you get out there and the farther you explore and the further you get away from civilization, the weirder things that you can find. You'll find gods warring with each other, losing power, trying to gain devotion and worshipers so that they can become gods again, and just really amazing. I know the word epic is overused, but it really is epic high fantasy, and a lot of new ideas. We're not just trying to be an old game, but we're building on the foundation of the types of games that I was involved with, the other team members were involved with, that we had a blast making, had a blast playing, and incorporating some new, a bunch of new ideas on top of that solid foundation. So if that's something that you kind of think back on with have a fond memory of and would like to get back into playing again, hopefully more polished this time, less grindy, less shorter play periods, but still that same kind of experience, then I think Pantheon's going to be a game that you really enjoy.
And again, I'm throwing these screenshots up again just to show what kind of world design you guys have in mind. And it looks beautiful. Unity engine just looks fantastic. I'm loving everything I've seen so far. So the $1 million question is, now I have a little bit of influence, so I managed to gather an audience today, but I certainly can't get you on the path to getting this game funded. And I wish I could just put you there. We would do it tonight, for the record.
Right.
But there's a lot of people in here who love you, brother, and a lot of people who are loving your game design. And what can we do now, as the little guy? What can we do to get you on track? Is there anything we can do at this point? How can we support you right now? And I know there's no Kickstarter, nothing like that right now. So what can we do?
Right. It is important to say that I need to say that the crowdfunding that we're accepting now is just to keep the website going. It's coming in at a rate that it maintains the website, the bandwidth, everything, the hosting, but it's not going to development. We'll resume development when we get some funding. But what could really help would be, you may not be a person involved in investment, but maybe a friend or of somebody who is. There's different kinds of investors out there. We would prefer to work with angel investors. Angel investors are people usually who have the money, but they're personally investing in something that they're passionate about, and we hope that they're passionate about massively multiplayer games. That's not to say we won't talk to a more traditional venture capitalist, somebody who is investing money for somebody else, that sort of thing. We're open to anything, but ideally, I'd like to see some angel investors come in and really get to know us and get to know the game, and help us make this dream really happen, really come to fruition.
So if you're watching this, and here's a simplified version of that. If you're not the kind of person that can invest, we get that, and we love you for it. We love the support. If you're one of those EverQuest passionate players, you're a Vanguard passionate player, if you're somebody who plays World of Warcraft and you're tired of the status quo and you want to see something more social, more interesting, there's something very easily you can do, and it doesn't involve pulling out your credit card. It involves right now getting the word out, getting it in front of people you may know, getting it out to your Facebook, your social media, get the name out, Pantheon. Brad McQuaid, tweet at him, tag him, get investors, get eyes in front of this, get the buzz out. It's all about buzz at this point. It's all about positive buzz, people who are excited about it, people who are interested in it. If you're watching this right now, you're streaming right now, you can share this. You can share the Pantheon website. You can share Brad's personal Twitter, whatever you can do to get people interested and know that this is a game that you're excited to buy, that you're excited to see develop, you're excited to see hit the world. Because let's face it, guys, and I'm just going to be honest, and Brad, you may disagree with me, but I'm not going to say that the MMO is dead. I'm not going to say that. But I'm saying it's dying. I will say that gladly. And as long as they continue to repeat this non-innovative, non-interesting way of repeating the World of Warcraft formula, which itself is a slight improvement over the original EverQuest formula, until they start shaking it up. And you look at EverQuest Next, which is shaking it up. You look at what Sony's doing right now. That's where the money's going to go. And if we don't get those kinds of games funded, if we don't get your kind of game funded, the genre itself will die. And that's heartbreaking to me. I don't want it to be that. I as much as I've enjoyed my little time with Elder Scrolls Online, and for those of you who seem to rave about it, you've raved about it in chat tonight, I hope that game does well. But trust me, if you've never experienced what Brad experienced, what I experienced, if you've never played these kinds of games, you're doing yourself a great disservice. And I want to live in a world in which...
Let me add to that. The part that scares me is just some of the money that's being spent on these huge projects, and we're looking at $10 to $12 million to make this game, and we think that's completely realistic. Again, because it's a focus game, and we're not trying to have everything and tons of voice acting and this and that. But I don't think MMOs are in danger of dying per se, but they're not going where they need to go, and there needs to be more options, and there needs to be more choices that people can make in the type of virtual world experience they're looking for. And if what we've described here seems interesting to you, I hope that you can help spread the word.
Absolutely. Well, Brad, I'm going to not steal you for any more time. We're going to go ahead and end the stream here. I appreciate all your time, man. I appreciate everything you're doing for the genre. I appreciate you as a developer, and know you've always got a fan in me, brother. All
right. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to
all right.
you and everybody else. I appreciate it.
And you keep me updated. Anytime you ever want to come hang out, man, I'm ready to have you. This is fun.
Sounds good.
We'll talk about anything but Call of Duty Ghosts.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're going to head out of here for the night. This will be uploaded on YouTube just in case you don't have the opportunity to see it here, or you just want to see something that you missed, or you just want to see the cool part in which Brad made me look silly because he's smarter than me. Other than that, I may be back to stream a little bit tonight and hang out with you guys. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in. And I'll talk with you soon.